2 minutes, 2 seconds. I will start.
Sure.
Sir, please go ahead, sir. Streaming started.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. May I request to kindly settle down. The chief guest for this evening, Mr. Vishwanathan Anand, Indian chess grandmaster and former world champion, and other dignitaries have already joined in online. We will commence the program sharp at 6 o'clock. Another 3-4 minutes to go. Before that, I'll briefly tell you what's happening in MMA so that you don't miss one major event which I want to share with you is tomorrow MMA is launching the 24 weeks masterclass course, online course, and this is a must course for all the people who are in the manufacturing sector. And the course is the business excellence, operational excellence towards business excellence. And we are getting some outstanding management professionals, top industry leaders talking to them. We already have more than 35 nominations. We'll be taking maximum about 75 to 100 people. And Mr. Balraman, former managing director of Pons and our past president, is inaugurating this course tomorrow. I also don't want to miss the event, which is very, very important for each one of you. Mr. Gurumurthy is talking to us day after tomorrow. It is on the 17th, so not day after tomorrow, on Monday. He's talking on the team post-pandemic world and India. And you all know Gurumurthy is chartered accountant, political economic analyst, and editor of Tuklak. Besides that, we have some outstanding international speakers. Mr. Altudora is talking on 18th. He's talking from USA. He's a regional managing director. And on Wednesday 19th, we have Pradeep Philip, we have Velumani from TheroCare, and a couple of, including Barka Dutt, she's got his own channel. She's joining us. And on 22nd, we have got Sham Sundar Aditya is talking to us. What prevents you from building a wealth? And these are some of the important topics which has been already programmed for you. Now, coming to today's event. Yeah. Once again, very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. On the occasion of Independence Day, MMA and Konda Stifting is privileged to organize an event especially curated for women on the theme Marching Ahead, the Next Normal. The event will provide women with guidance and practical resources on the topic that are top of the mind during the COVID-19. With an illustrious lineup of speakers, the 2 hours event aims to support women so that they can navigate and prepare for the next normal. That we have put in a lot of effort. Ranjini Manian, who is a part of our team, she's been guiding us the last 1 month, working out on so many speakers and combinations. I can assure you, you're going to have a fantastic 2 hours starting from 6 o'clock. Based on the challenges faced by women at work and home, this evening will bring to the fore the discussion to support women during the pandemic. The event will also comprise engaging their fireside chat and interactive sessions with women will discover ways to live and work in our reality. And once again, very warm welcome to each one of you who have joined this program live on YouTube, live on Facebook. In fact, I have done last 4 months a number of events. This is the first time we have crossed 200 plus people at 6 o'clock. That really shows the full power of our chief guest for this evening, Mr. Vishwanathan Anand. You all logged in on time just to listen to a man who is so inspiring, who made the nation proud. We're all indeed privileged and honored to have you with us, Mr. Anand, this evening to you. Now we'll commence the program. It's now sharp 6 o'clock. We'll commence the program for this evening. The evening session is the inaugural session is the one which we start in the beginning. This inaugural session is a program for about half an hour up to 6:30. And 6:35, we'll have the special session on the theme Advocate for Yourself and Others. We have 3 outstanding distinguished speakers. Then the next session will start at special session 2 will start at 7:30 p.m. Managing Stress in Next Normal. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, very warm welcome to each one of you. It is indeed my privilege to welcome Ms. Shubha Kumar, a member of the MMA Management Committee and Managing Director of Nadesan Synchrocounts Private Limited. May now call upon Shubha Kumar to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, Ms. Shubha Kumar.
Thank you, Group Captain. Good evening, everyone. On the occasion of Independence Day 2020, I'm very excited to welcome you to this exclusive event for women, Marching Ahead, the New Normal. This year, we couldn't have our usual Women Managers Convention, but we thought we had to do something special for women. This event is organized by MMA in association with Global Adjustments Foundation and with the support from Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. I consider it my honor to welcome this evening our distinguished chief guest, Mr. Vishwanathan Anand, Indian chess grandmaster, former world chess champion, and who has very kindly agreed to deliver the keynote address today despite his busy schedule. I also take the opportunity to welcome our distinguished speakers of this evening, Dr. Ranjini Manian, Ms. Anu Hasan, Ms. Kamini Shah, Ms. Maria Goretti, Ms. Shweta Jaishankar, Ms. Bani Kola, Mr. Wilfred Albor. I take the opportunity to welcome members of MMA, members and associates of Global Adjustments Foundation, and a large number of participants from all over the country who joined us this evening online. Since there are a large number of guests from other organizations, I'll talk briefly about MMA. I request Group Captain, can you mute the other people? Thank you. As you may be aware, Madras Management Association is the largest management association in the country. MMA has been awarded the Best Management Association for the last 10 years in a row, considering the phenomenal contribution MMA makes in propagating management among corporate members and students and public at large. I'm very happy to say MMA has used the lockdown as an opportunity and has successfully arranged numerous innovative online programs for the benefit of members, and a large number of management students have benefited during the lockdown. So coming to today's program, the UN Secretary General's policy brief on the theme, the impact of COVID-19 on women, released a few weeks ago, states across every sphere, from health to economy, security to social protection, the impact of COVID-19 are exacerbated for women and girls simply by the virtue of their gender. This brief went on to deliberate how women and girls' lives have been changing in the face of COVID-19, and they've outlined a number of suggestions and priority measures that need to be taken for short-term and long-term recovery efforts from COVID. But closer to home, we've witnessed women already living on the economic margins, facing numerous problems in terms of fending for themselves and their families during the pandemic as a result of job loss and complete absence of the economic activity. Women and even adolescent girls are disproportionately responsible for unpaid care and domestic work. So these are situations that we would like to deliberate on today, and on how work and life have changed fundamentally during COVID-19 and the strategies for managing stress in these difficult times. We have an excellent lineup of speakers this evening who will share their insights on the theme. I once again take this opportunity to thank Dr. Ranjani Manian, who has kindly put together such an excellent evening for us, the distinguished speakers who accepted our invitation to share their perspectives. And last but not the least, Team MMA, headed by our group captain, who've anchored the entire effort of organizing such a timely event on the occasion of India's 74th Independence Day. My congratulations to all the women managers who have received awards on this occasion, albeit virtually. You would have received it at the Women Managers Convention, but we are happy that you're able to receive it today. I welcome the past presidents of MMA, distinguished invitees, management students, members, viewers from all over the world watching this program live on YouTube, Facebook, and MMA live webinar. Wish you all a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubha Kumar, for delivering the welcome address. It's an exclusive online event for women on the occasion of Indian Independence Day. We are indeed privileged to do so. MMA organized competition under the aegis of MMA Women Managers Forum for women managers, which include a written and an oral presentation. This competition is a part of MMA's effort to help the women managers improve their professional excellence. The competition is held every year since the year 2002. Out of competing participants, one woman manager is selected for the MMA Outstanding Woman Manager of the Year award. By the panel of judges, the award carries a trophy, cash award of 25,000 rupees, a certificate sponsored by Nadesan Synchrocons Private Limited, and also attractive gifts, hampers, book sponsored by Westland Limited. The competition enables women managers to demonstrate talent and evaluate their present level of knowledge and skills, demonstrate creativity, professional excellence, and leadership qualities, present their perspective, their point of view on the chosen theme, lead from others, learn from others' points of view, and above all, an opportunity to representing their organization at this competition. The panel of judges consisting of eminent personality from the corporate, academia, evaluated the written and the oral presentation of the competition and selected the winner of the MMA Outstanding Woman Manager of the Year 2020. In view of the excellent presentation by the participants during the competition, we had more than 40 of them, the panel of jury recommended 3 more women managers to be recognized by the Special Jury Award for their excellent presentation. I'm happy to announce that Managing Committee has decided to honor 3 more women managers as recommended by the jury, though there could be only 1 outstanding woman manager. The special jury award for this year goes to Radhika Ravi from Tata Consultancy Services, Magalakshmi Naina from Nokia, and Ms. Andal from NTPC Limited. The winner of the MMA Outstanding Woman Manager of the Year award is Ms. Suga Ranjini Vadivelu from Tata Consultancy Services. May I have the AV, please? Congratulations to the winner. Once again, many congratulations. All the participants, each one of you are winners as far as we are concerned. Once again, a warm greetings to the winner, Suga Ranjini Vadivelu from Tata Consultancy Services. All the prize money has been credited to your account, and the gift hamper and attractive books will be delivered to you. Please keep in touch with the MMA Secretariat. They'll make arrangement to either deliver to your office or you can pick it up from our MMA Secretariat. We are working now, there's no issue. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to listen to our distinguished chief guest this evening, Mr. Vishwanathan Anand, Indian chess grandmaster and former world chess champion. I now request Dr. Ranjini Manian, member of MMA Managing Committee, who has put in so meticulously conceptualized and put together the great seminar this evening, to request you to introduce our chief guest, Mr. Vishwanathan Anand. May I, Mr. Ranjini Manian?
It's an honor and privilege to be on the same platform virtually with Anand. Thank you, Anand, for taking time to do this. Can I have the AV, please?
Our chief guest this evening, Grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand, is a 5-time world chess champion, the first sportsperson to receive the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award and Padma Vibhushan. Anand is a well-liked figure throughout the chess world. Anand, who first earned the nickname of the Lightning Kid in India, is known for quick tactical calculations. His recent book, Mastermind: Winning Lessons from a Champion's Life, is a must-read. A very simple person, Anand is an inspiration to every Indian. More than once, he has proved that our thoughts are our strongest weapon and biggest asset. We are happy to have him for India's independence to preside over this event, which will provide women with guidance and practical resources on topics that are top of the mind during COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Vishy Anand.
Let's welcome Vishwanathan Anand.
Over to you, Mr.
Anand,
Anand.
over to
Looking
you.
forward to hearing your inspiring address. Over to you, Mr. Anand.
Thank you, everyone, and congratulations to the winners, by the way. So I'd like to talk a little bit about managing in difficult times. In chess, I have faced this very often. I remember a couple of big crisis moments in my career. In 1994, I was on my way to qualify for the World Championship, and I was leading in one of the knockout matches, I was leading my opponent by 2 points with 3 games to spare. Suddenly, when essentially I would have to lose 2 out of these 3 just not to win it. And I started to relax a little bit. When I lost the 6th game, I told myself, well, probably this is still under control. It was a bad day, but let's think. And I did not focus properly. I lost the 7th game as well. And after we drew the match, I lost the tie breaks. This is a situation I've faced quite often in my career. What did I learn from that experience? Well, I learned that it's very important never to be complacent, never to relax till you have the point in the bag. And as I've gotten older, A lot of these experiences have been so that nowadays I'm even more nervous when I'm about to win, because it's one thing when it's almost there and it's another thing when it's actually in the bag. However, from difficult moments, that is the ideal time to reflect on yourself, to take an objective analysis, to do an objective analysis of yourself, and try to think, what are the things that I really need to systematically improve in order to get better? In chess, we like to say that we evaluate ourselves after every game, and that is true. We will always look at a game after it's finished, look for the mistakes we committed, the things we did right, and then try to note these down to work on later. But sometimes there are broader patterns. There are psychological weaknesses which are revealed, impatience, euphoria, all sorts of emotional turmoil, and finding out when these things, identifying when these things affect you, and then having the discipline to make notes so that the next time when you feel that emotion coming, the warning signals go off. That is how we learn. Now, of course, I'm talking of the failure that you experience personally, but this year we experienced something that I'm confident that none of us have faced before, and certainly not on the scale. So literally the different definition of force majeure, isn't it? So I remember in February how innocently I got on the flight and I went to Germany. The plan was to play one club match, then I was going to stay back for 3 weeks and play another club match. And then I had this idea, well, instead of coming back again, why not bridge these 2 club matches with a training session in Poland, and then I will return after the second club match. So that was the plan. I played the first club event. I trained for 3 weeks in Poland. And I was about to come back to Germany to play my club match before flying home. Already while we were there were worrying signs. One by one, Italy and Spain were already heavily affected. And these were countries which we thought had excellent healthcare systems. We hadn't quite gotten a grip on the whole thing yet. But March, I arrived on the 10th of March. On the 13th of March, my team captain called everyone and canceled the event. I mean, it actually took him 3 days still at that point. Called everyone, canceled the event. Then I started calling Lufthansa to fly back. And of course, they kept saying, no, today's flight is canceled, tomorrow's flight is canceled. And next thing you know, I was stranded in Germany. And it's just been a very, very interesting learning experience. I think you can learn a lot from a situation just like this, just as much as you can learn from some personal experience of yours. I was fortunate that I had agreed to do some commentary, which was a new development for me. I was going to do a commentary for a chess tournament. And I'd agreed for this simply because I thought it would be a nice thing to do. And it came in handy because while I was in Germany, I simply had to find something to do, and this was very nice. So this took me to the end of the month. And by the way, my flight kept on moving. So by now my flight had shifted to April 5th. And then the tournament I was supposed to do commentary on got canceled halfway. And the reason they got canceled, they went ahead with the tournament because they felt that once we get all the participants in, we have enough doctors to have a very high doctor to participant ratio, and we should be safe till the end of the event. But then they realized that Russian airspace would close halfway through the event and no one would be able to go back home. So they shut that down. And slowly I began to suspect that my year was simply going to be unlike any other. I was planning to play a big tournament actually in Germany in April. So I was going to fly back and then fly back again. And I was going to play in Azerbaijan. Then I was going to play in Paris. I was going to play in Amsterdam. I was going to play in the US. And suddenly the whole thing disappeared. And it looked clear to me that probably I was not going to make a flight in April. Sadly, there were flights landing in Germany, dropping off German citizens who had been stranded in India, but not taking any of us back. They were flying empty back home. Anyway, so I suddenly found myself with a lot of time. First thing I did was to try to learn something new. So I looked at my chess. I tried to find new interesting things to look at, practice some languages, read up on subjects that I had not read up, all the self-improvement stuff. And actually, given that we don't know what kind of world we're going to return to, this is probably the only logical thing we could have done at that stage. So in chess specifically, online chess boomed. In April and May, every website was reporting 3 or 4 times the normal level of traffic. All events moved online. And but nobody knew how long it would last. I mean, I would be lying if I said in April I had a clear sense of when this was going to end. My attitude was, let me do the stuff and rehearse the skills and practice the things that are going to be valid for any possible future, and not try to predict stuff. So studying rook endgames or pawn endgames or the Sicilian defense is going to be useful to me no matter where I play and how I play. So that was practical. Eventually, we know that most economies were severely affected. It must have been impossible for all of you to make any plans in whichever sector you're in. And the only thing you can do is to work on the skills that you would need under all circumstances. So I did a bit of that, especially I was very lucky to be in Germany, which had a relatively mild lockdown, in the sense that they had strict regulations, which everybody there automatically follows. And then they had, they didn't go overboard with it. So I was able to go out a lot within the town. I was able to go out a lot. So I tried to take advantage of that to do a lot of physical training and so on. Then we found out that there were going to be some Vande Bharat flights to come back. And that took quite a bit of planning to get into. You had to fill all sorts of forms here and there. And it was nice to see people evolving. I mean, the Indian embassy in Berlin, for instance, understood that simply putting a website where people can't ask any questions doesn't work. They adapted. They started communicating even with individuals via Twitter. And you could see them. Every time there'd be a WhatsApp rumor, within one day, the embassy would have a clarification saying, no, it's not going to happen. And these are just modern times. And you can see that people had started to adapt and so on. Anyway, I got my flight back on the 27th of May, finally after 3.5 months there. I landed, I mean, I was of course going to any city that I could, but I was accepted for Bangalore. I spent 1 week in Bangalore in quarantine, then took the flight to Chennai. You know, the masks, the shield, all the fun things. I got back home, and then I had a further week of quarantine in the bedroom while you know, my meals were left outside and all that stuff. And on the 14th of June, I could finally enter a normal situation again. Normal in the sense that I'm at home with my family, but of course, outside the world continued with this chaos. It was one of the most touching things I had was I've played chess everywhere, but my dominant impression is I get ready for an event. Then when I get ready to get into the car to go to the airport, something clicks. I get on the plane, something clicks. I arrive in the hotel, something clicks. I see the other participants, something clicks. I go to the opening ceremony where they draw lots, something clicks. And like this, there are 4 or 5 stages by which I'm fully concentrated because I know that the tournament has started. And these are all nice cues for that to happen. I accepted an online tournament last month. And till 2 minutes before the event began, it just didn't feel real. It felt like it is happening to someone else, somewhere else. I could not get ready for it. I'm used to other participants wandering around, seeing each other's boards. You're used to some atmosphere, the spectators. Here, all the cues are missing, but we're still forced to work from home. You know, working from home is not just a question of doing the work. It is about all the mental cues to get ready. So anyway, the touching event was, I lost one game, and then my son wandered in after he knew that the result was over. He could finally open the door. He wandered in, and I guess he was very happy to give me the advice that he had received so many times. He says, "Appa, you have to practice this opening better, and you have to concentrate. You're getting too distracted." And that was very nice. But in fact, he hit on something. How do you concentrate at home? There is something unreal about never seeing your client, never interacting with your opponent. It's not that we can't do the work. It's just that it doesn't feel serious. I guess we will get better with this, but the way we will solve this is typically to learn to manufacture artificial cues that 20 minutes before a game starts, you look at puzzles or you do something that warms you up. You play training games, and this is the beginning of the curve. Now, to talk about the pandemic itself, what it reminds me most of all is of playing against a chess computer. And I'll explain why. You see, when I play another human being, I know that I can read his face for cues. He knows he can read mine. Even a passing by participant, if he looks and he's surprised, there's some information. Also, I know that I can have a hot streak. If I defend my position with 3 accurate moves, then I know that by the 4th move, my opponent is getting slightly discouraged. And you feel good having made a couple of moves. You know that your opponent is reacting to everything you do. But when you play a chess computer, you lose that sense completely. You have the feeling that nothing you do, you have any idea what it thinks, and nothing you do is impacting in any way as well. And the virus reminds me of that. So the first time I started to play a computer, and of course we have stopped this long back, but the first time I played against it, I realized you make 10 good moves, nobody pats you on the back, there is no positive feedback, nothing. You have to make the 11th good move as well, because the computer opponent is not going to relax. And this is a very different kind of opponent. It forces you to follow a narrow path, and without any confirmation or feedback that you are following it correctly. You'll have to follow it to the end, and it's only at the end you'll find out if you've done the right thing. It's hard, but the problem is the computer doesn't care about whether it's hard or easy for you. It's going to do it. And it's the same with this virus. All it's interested in is infecting more people. It's even killing us at a lower rate so that it can infect more people. And it's just pure evolution. It's doing that. But it's the kind of enemy that requires a certain kind of discipline. So, I wanted to remark on the fact as well that people have noticed that countries led by women have done much better than many other countries. And I think there are several factors here, but I was thinking along this theme that I remember while I was in Germany, I watched many addresses by the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel. And one consistent pattern stuck out to me. She never tried to make fun of it or never tried to entertain the audience. She kept on, she would come there, sit there and say, and there was this honesty and frankness. She would say, this is what we're facing. This is how many cases I have heard of. This is what the Koch Institute is saying. This is what the experts are saying. And then she gave one particular example, which I liked a lot. She said, if the RO, the infection rate, is 1.1, then our hospitals are going to cope. If the RO is 1.2, our hospitals break down in June. If the infection rate is 1.3, it breaks down in April. And just to show, you would expect it goes down slowly, but a slight increase also has this. And like this, she just stated the facts. She was honest, sincere, and she got off. A lot of other world leaders who are used to entertaining their audiences or did not manage to convey this in this way and did not get the required response. So I feel that just as much we should say that this was just good leadership. This was how you deal with this virus. And unfortunately, we're all in this for the long haul. Looking at the future, I don't know what the future is going to look like. I don't know whether this mixture of online chess and offline chess will change. It may change fundamentally in the sense that we may move permanently offline. I don't think that's very likely, but it's a possibility. That ratio may change forever. It may not go back to the 80-20 it used to be. It may stop at 40-60. That's a possibility. And all we can do is to take the precautions we are taking and be very, very patient till it comes out. Good leadership is acknowledging that, following scientific facts, being honest with your audience, and I think there's a lesson there. I feel quite sad when I watch my son's school year disappear. I mean, he used to have friends, used to have a lot of social interaction. Now he's forced to cope, but all you can do is tell him every day, this is all there is. The alternative is horrible and you just have to trust us, and this is all there is. That's what we can do. But keep optimistic and try to come out of this alive. Even in chess, I simply don't know what world to get ready for. And I wanted to say that if you had asked me in January what my wish list would be, I would have said, oh, it would be nice to spend some time with the family, having more time for the things that are important in life. We've all said this. Well, we got a chance. We got all the time we wanted to spend time with family. Hopefully you're not stranded somewhere. Spend all the time with family. And it's not that easy either. But in the same way that a defeat in chess forces you to look at every aspect of your game and find out what are the things you want to improve, something like this gives us the chance to look at all aspects of our life. Maybe success is not the only measure. You can take an honest look, try to find out what are the priorities, what are the things that are important, not important. For instance, I have discovered that I used to tell people I don't think I could survive more than a month without air travel. And I've taken one flight in the last 6 months. 7 actually, sorry. I used to think all sorts of things were important. And I found out that it's not that much of a deal breaker. So this is a good chance to reflect and get ready for the future. And I wish you all the best. And I hope you manage to enjoy my experience of this very special year. Congrats again to the winners, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anand. Thank you for your thought-provoking and insightful address, and your inspirational eloquence combined with the quality of thought process added tremendous value to the entire proceedings today. We are going to have you set the tone for all the discussions that are going to happen, because they are all going to discuss what you really went through during the last few months. And thank you so much indeed. We already have more than 3,500 viewers watching this program. We never had an MMA crossing more than 250. Today, we already more than 450 people are in Zoom. It all shows they're all willing to come forward to listen to you, actually, Mr. Anand. You are proud of India, and thank you so much. And as a token of our gratitude, MMA has made arrangements on your behalf. 195 marks given away to the needy. Indeed, obliged by your kind gesture. We want to give to the poor what the affluent people do wear the N95. We have done that as a practice. We keep giving this to a lot of poor to the NGO. Thank you so much. And we also want to thank Ms. Aruna Anand for her support. She effectively coordinated with Ranjini. I know from time to time I keep getting a lot of messages wherever we went wrong and wherever we had to do. Thank you so much, Mr. Anand. Ranjini, you would like to add anything more? Maybe you would like to ask some questions from any of the speakers. I'll leave it to you, Mr. Anand.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Anand. We have only 3 or 4 minutes, so we can have maybe just 1 or 2 questions quickly. Is anyone prepared with a question to ask Anand?
Yeah, Anu, Kamini, and Maria is on the line. Maybe we'll give the privilege to. Yes, Maria.
Maria or Kamini, go ahead.
Yeah.
Mr. I must tell you that it was quite something meeting you online. I've always admired you, but I've never really had a chance to meet you. So it's a complete honor to meet you. I have to, when you were talking about how while you played a game, you had to kind of, at certain places, certain emotions would take over. So that is psychology besides just, playing the game. And you talked about how when you looked at your opponent, you would know where he's going. I mean, today in today's pandemic, a big thing is mental health. So I'm sure a lot of what you did during that game also came to use when you were stuck in Germany. How did you deal with you being there and not being able to come back? How were you feeling at that point of time?
Thank you. I understood under the circumstances, I was fairly lucky. I was at home in Germany, next to some very close friends of mine who lived in the next apartment. So in the sense, I always had someone I could reach out to. I would not be able to see my family for a long time, only online. But on the other hand, I was not really stranded in that sense. I was not stuck in a hotel somewhere, unable to get flights. I mean, there's so many people who had it worse off that I mostly felt I'd gotten off lightly. It didn't affect me at first because I didn't realize it was going to be 2.5 months. That realization came slowly. And I didn't also realize how serious this was going to be and how long it was going to take. So the numbers that we now have of 20 million infected around the world, I didn't even come in my projections then. So, we're all grappling with something new.
Yes.
But by May, I was just fed up and I really wanted to come back, and I was ready to do anything to get on any flight to come somewhere. I said, drop me off in Cochin, Bangalore, anyway, it doesn't matter, just I'll come. And luckily that flight happened. So it worked out well, I think. And since then I've been here almost 2 months now. And I actually spent a hell of a lot of time. So I go every day I take Akhil out for a walk. Around the building, but at least the thing we get a lot of time to talk about things. And I've also come to appreciate the times when we used to travel without a thought. You really miss that. And I know that the whole family is starting to dream of some holiday at some date. We'll see.
Great. So Anand, I have a quick question. So other than playing chess, which I can't learn at this age, what else can I do to become calm and patient like you to manage the next normal?
Well, you said calm and patient like me. I'm simply a good actor. I learned to keep my emotions to myself at the chessboard for obvious reasons. I have found that I do better when I'm interested in what I'm doing. So if I can find something interesting in the position, I'm more engaged, I'm easier to concentrate, all that. The other thing is to visualize. When I said, there are some weaknesses you fix, I don't think there are emotional qualities you can ever fix. I mean, that's just you. But what you can do is to see the cues. You can see, this is when I make a mistake. What did I feel then? What was I thinking then? And how can I see it coming so that I have some warning that my performance might drop, sort of thing. And I think visualizing, I mean, we all have a pretty good idea about ourselves. What are the times we tend to get wrong? When do we get it right? That sort of thing. I think if you can visualize a little bit and then mentally train yourself when it comes. And by the way, even in chess, I don't get huge improvement from this, but I'm happy with it doing better 2 out of 10 times. I know that most of the time the mistakes will still happen. And the flip side is the good moves will also happen. But if I can improve the worst bits by 20% or something, I'm happy. So visualization is one thing I use a lot.
Great.
Maybe one last question. Kamini, you
in fact,
Yes.
Thanks, Anand. Really enjoyed listening to you. Privileged to e-beat you. My question actually goes back to, your time in Germany, because, a lot of people are away from their families and some of them have not had that opportunity to come back, right? And you hear a lot about the mental health issues, a lot of stress and depression that go through. Given the experience that you have been, is there any, where did you find that source of inspiration or positivity within you to get you going? And what would you advise people, to stay, to manage and get through by in this situation?
I think physical exercise was very nice. I mean, you simply need a certain amount of that every day. And it's a pity that, we're doing yoga classes via Zoom and so on, but, it's something, it keeps you going. Find activities that you can do with family members. I mean, we are really a species that needs each other, so we can't be too alone. And for that reason, I can say in Germany, I was lucky because my friends were next door, and every evening we would have a dinner together. We'd go for short walks together and things like that. But it was strange that when I started out, Germany had more cases than India. I mean, their thing was peaking. And I flew in the completely wrong direction. By the time Germany had solved the problem, I flew to Bangalore. And then Bangalore was doing much better than Chennai, so of course I flew home. I came in the wrong direction. But yeah, we should count our blessings. If we're even half well off, we should count our blessings, because, I mean, in the beginning, there were so many horror stories of people stranded in hotels. That's stranded. I mean, I try to tell people I was not stranded. I was just stuck there. I was very lucky under the circumstances. If you have some company, some friends, that's probably the most important thing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anand. Thank you so much for your time. And ladies and gentlemen, we really ran out of time because our chief guest, Mr. Anand, has to go because he's got another pressing engagement. We really committed
Do we
him
have
to...
a group photo opportunity before
Yes,
Anand
keep
leaves?
taking. It's already taken.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Taken. And thank you so much, Mr. Anand. And thanks for sparing your valuable time. Thank you also for taking on the questions. And so many questions have come from all the social media as well as our chat mode. And what I will do, I will take out a printout and send it to you. Whenever you get time, you answer them. I'll be more than delighted to share with all the people who raise this question. I think that way, I think we can satisfy so many people who have raised so many questions. It'll be very interesting. Thank you so much for understanding. Thank you for your support, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our inaugural session. And now we'll commence the special session 1 on the theme, Advocating for Yourself and Others. I now request our distinguished moderator for the session, Dr. Ranjini Manian, and other panelists, Mr. Kamini Shah, Maria Goretti, and Anu Hasan, to join us. Please keep your video on and please unmute yourself. May I have the AV, please?
Today's event will have 2 interactive sessions with eminent personalities from different fields. In the first session, the panel discussion on advocating for yourself and others, we have Ranjini Manian in conversation with Kamini Shah, Maria Goretti, and Anu Hasan. Ranjini Manian, founder of Global Adjustments, has spent over 2 decades as an entrepreneur, cultural ambassador, author, and philanthropist connecting global citizens to India. The former board member of Harvard Women's Leadership Board and the chair of Global Adjustments Foundation, Champion Woman, works to enhance productivity and emotional strength in the workforce. Over 100,000 women have benefited by their life leadership programs. Kamini Shah, respected woman leader in IT, is the CFO, Strategic Sales and Geographies of Wipro Limited. With over 25 years of experience in Fortune 500 companies, Kamini works closely with teams across multiple countries. With a sharp focus on delivering growth, Kamini believes in taking people along to success. Maria Goretti is known for her energetic presence and is a famous author, chef, and television host. With a degree from Le Cordon Bleu, Paris, Maria is an accomplished celebrity chef with a great following. RJ and former MTV VJ, she has hosted several TV shows, including I Love Cooking and Do It Sweet on NDTV. She is the author of the award-winning gourmand book, From My Kitchen to Yours. Anu Hassan, famous for her easy conversational style, made her film debut in the critically acclaimed film Indira in 1995 and has since appeared in many Tamil films. She hosted the celebrity TV talk show Coffee with Anu for 3 seasons. She writes columns and promotes positivity through her motivational channel AH Positive. Ladies and gentlemen, do join us for the first special round with these distinguished guests in a fireside chat.
Thank you. Over to you, Ranjini Madam, to lead the conversation with our distinguished panelists this evening. Over to you, Dr. Ranjini.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Maria, Anu, Kamini, it's a dream to have 3 such different women that have followed their own path and career and have made the world a brighter place than when they found it. The conversation we were going to have is really a fireside chat, but probably an air-conditioned or fan comfort since we are in India. But we should have a little conversation because the main theme that is important today in India, in the next normal, it has always been important for our women to speak up, to be able to get what they want, to set goals and priorities and go where they want to go. Traditionally, we've always had to speak up at home, at work, and then also for ourselves socially. But now more than ever, the new need in the next normal is going to be non-conditionally, unconditionally, women have to speak up, right? So that's why we chose the topic, advocating for yourself and for others. And we were wonderfully happy that this panel came together. So let me please start by asking each one of you if you would take a moment to share with us a personal story where you had to speak up and advocate for yourself, either at home or in your career, in your own lives. Can I start with Anu?
Sure. Thank you, Ranjini, and thank you, MMA, for having me this evening. So usually when people look at me, they think, oh, she's very bold and, she's always going to be, standing up for herself, etc. But I was not always like this. I was a people pleaser and a very unhappy people pleaser, let me tell you, because people pleasing is not an easy job because you're pleasing everybody else except yourself. You're not taking care of yourself. And you think that you're doing it and more people will like you and therefore the world will become nicer. It doesn't. And I think I realized that I was doing this pretty late in life. I think it was early 30s, mid 30s, when I started realizing something is not quite right. And then I realized that, oh, this just isn't working. I have to take care of myself a bit better. And I started, speaking up for what I want to do, what I like to do, etc. And it made a marked difference in my approach to life. And I'll tell you, it made a marked difference to the kind of person I became now. If you ask anybody who knew me about 10 years ago, who's worked with me,
they would say that she was very difficult, she's very tough, it's very hard to work with her, etc. And if you talk to the same person, they'll say that they'll see what a sea change there has been in the kind of person I am. Because when, you know the saying, when you cannot share from an empty cup, your cup has to be full. Only then you can give to the others. And that big change actually brought about a very important change in my personal life, because in the last years of my parents' life, I could take very good care of them without getting upset that this is a responsibility or feeling burdened, or I considered it an honor, and I was in a good place. So I was able to do the right thing. And believe me, that is one of the biggest things, biggest advantages and benefits of having advocated for myself 10 years ago in my personal life. So I think I couldn't have asked for a bigger, a plus and an outcome that came from this change that I brought about.
That's wonderful. I know what a good daughter you are, and it was really nice of you to share that story. Thank you, Anu. Shall we hear from you, Kamini?
Yeah, so thank you very much, Ranjini, to have me here, and thanks to MMA. Really happy to be on the same platform. For me, I think if I look back at my life, I think I've been very, very lucky in terms of the kind of opportunities that I had when I was growing up. I'm in a family with 4 daughters. And I think my father made sure that we had all the opportunities that we needed. In fact, he pushed us to ensure that we were able to actually deliver to them and to our opportunities, right? So, I think as we grew up, we never really found a situation where we had to advocate for ourselves very strongly. But in my career, what I realized is that, typically, I think there are 2 milestones that comes in a woman's life where you have to actually start taking those decisions and, advocate for yourself, more so because of what you want. I think the first one, which I would probably want to share with this audience, because I'm sure a lot of them would be, is around the time when I got married and I was having my first daughter. We were a nuclear family. And, a lot of well-wishers within the family said that, I think it makes sense for you to leave your career right now. Your husband's doing extremely well. The child will not recognize you if you don't, if you're not there, to probably call the ayah, the mother, and, things like that. That puts you under tremendous stress and pressure because, there is an emotional quotient that you're caught upon. And that's where I think I stood for myself. I had clarity of purpose of what is very important. And I said that, listen, this is very important. Otherwise, I am not me. I will not be what I am. And, I really had to stand up for myself. And, of course, my partner was very supportive, but to bring the family around in terms of what is very important. So I think these are challenges that every woman goes through, but extremely important to have that clarity of purpose of what you want out of life. And I think that makes me what I am today a lot more happier than what I would have been if I had not taken that call at that point of time.
That's fabulous, Kamini. That's what we want every woman and girl on this panel, on listening to this panel, to take into her life and say, I'm not going to give up one to become the other. Work and life can be integrated, and I am going to take it forward, even when my biological clock is ticking. Thank you. Let's hear from you, Maria.
Thank you, Ranjini. Thank you for having me on this panel. Firstly, it's just a complete pleasure to have such amazing women on this panel with us today. So I completely understand what Anu was talking about. But always I worked, I used to always tell everybody what I want to do, and I used to put, instead of saying this could be worked out, I would always say, this I'm not going to do, this I'm not going to do, this and this I'm not going to do. So sometimes when, people listening to me, they tell me, are you trying to get this job, or are you trying to get yourself out? No, I'm just trying to make it very clear that these things I absolutely won't do. Once I get on a set, do not expect me to do this, because the answer would still be no. But having said that, I must tell you that I think the first time I ever went away to study per se was in 2011. And my daughter was 3.5 years, and everyone was telling me exactly like what Kamini was just saying. And they kept saying, your children are so small, you're going to go away for 3 months. It's going to be very tough. And, what do you, this is just, do you have to do this? But I don't know, something inside me felt that I have never gone anywhere on my own. I'd never traveled on my own. Whenever I traveled, I was always traveling with a crew, with somebody. I was actually not independent, though I may have come across as somebody who was so independent, so out there. I was actually somebody who was really shy, really, closed up. It's one thing to stand in front of camera and deliver, which I got really good at. But I realized on my own, I was so petrified. And so a lot of my friends would keep telling me, they would say, it's okay, Maria, when you go and if you can't do the whole 3 months, just come back. Don't. So everybody around me had an opinion that this girl will never be able to do this. And in my head, I never felt like that. And the first time in my life, I actually got out of my comfort zone and I did something for myself, just purely for myself. And that was exactly in 2011. And it changed me for the better, I would say. And I'm glad I was able to take that call. Of course, I had my parents, I had Varsi and everyone, my friends around me who completely kind of, got in and looked after everything. But yes, I think that was the first time ever that I did something that was purely for me. And I'm glad.
That's lovely, Maria. So you're really saying that you have to advocate for yourself with yourself first. You have to push yourself. Yes. And then advocate that to others so that Varsi and friends come and support you. That's fabulous. Yeah. Let's go back to you, Kamini. I had a question for you with our current work from home situation. I wondered if being a leader in a huge IT company, if you can give some kind of a structure, what should be a work from home typically that would build more trust so that the employer could advocate something to the employees, and the employee, what could they advocate for themselves to be effective?
So that's a very good question, Ranjini, because I think, we started out being with a very chaotic world, right? Because this is something completely new to us. We really didn't know how to behave or how to really work in a situation like this, right? So, if I look back and I had finance within my organization, I think a lot of instances people didn't know how to really lay down a work structure. And this is truly equal for both men and women. It's just not about women over here. How do I really set up that infrastructure? Because suddenly the privacy of my home is getting encroached upon. I have people getting into that personal space, which is my safe haven, and suddenly looking at and asking me, why are you not available? Because, what else do you have to do? After all, you can't go out. The day is entirely available. And I think a lot of people struggled, both managers or employees, in terms of how to manage this. Right? There were a couple of things that some of us did, and I think I'll be happy to share that. One is, I think we kind of started setting up a work structure in terms of saying that, listen, there is an end time of work. I'm completely accountable for what I need to deliver. But, there are times that belong to me as an employee, and you, as an organization, you need to help me respect that. I think it's very important to first get that clarity and that sense of appreciation for both the organization and for both the employee without feeling very guilty about it. Now, why am I saying that? Because in such uncertain times, employees believe they have to go far beyond because they're very worried about the security of their roles and their jobs, right? So, they somehow are very hesitant to call out for this. So I think it's very important to kind of set that out with the organization. I think it's very important to say that, this is the work structure in which I actually start out my day with. This is the time that I'm not available because, I have personal things to do. In fact, my personal work has actually gone up because I don't have the same support systems. My family is at home. They expect a lot out of me. It is very important for women, especially, to be able to stand up and say this, because I think they find this a lot more difficult to do it. So, I think I would start with the fact that be very clear on what you can do and what you cannot do. I think that's the first thing. Two is have that conversation with the organization that we are all responsible employees. I will deliver what I need to deliver, and this is how I would actually deliver it. I think it's important to sensitize managers, and that's what a lot of organizations have done, that, please be conscious of what your employee is going through at this point of time. And this is really how you do it. I think it's a continuous communication process. having trust and respect, believing that you don't need to micromanage your employees, and giving them the space to do what they need to do, right? Of course, there will be one odd employee who will take the advantage of that situation, but you just don't need to broad brush everybody with that, right? So in my view, this is really how you'll be able to manage the situation. And that's how we've been actually able to do it and address outliers as and when they come in the situation.
That's great. Excellent tips. Thank you, Kamini. Anu, I wonder if I can ask you a completely different question also. How do you think that women now, or employees of companies, but also women who are self-starters, let's say entrepreneurs, or women who want to make something of their own lives, and they want to contribute beyond the wonderful job that they do of being homemakers, how would you advise people to answer the question, what really matters to me? How does a woman answer that?
So first of all, I think she has to say perfection doesn't matter to me. I think that's the first mistake that we as women tend to make, because I think it's also historical, right? We've not been breadwinners for a very long time, and then suddenly we're breadwinners, or we want to prove as women that, oh, we're very good at it. But at the same time, we want to prove that we are also super moms and super homemakers and everything. So I think we need to first tell ourselves being perfect is not a requisite, first of all. Secondly, I think it is okay to ask for help. This is another thing, a lesson that I learned during one of my interviews with women entrepreneurs. And they were saying, men, if they had a question, a professional question, they just say, hey, let's go out for a cigarette, or let's go out for a drink. And you know what? I have this problem at work. What do you think? So they're very cool about networking and asking questions. But whereas a woman always, they said, feels a little, uncomfortable, because she then feels she might come across as weak, as not knowing, etc. So one of the things is ask, reach out, network. It's really, really important for women, especially when you're in a professional area. Please network. You never know who's going to help you where. Ask for help and get rid of this, this pursuit of perfection, because it's never going to be there. And take some time out and give some thought as to what you really want. What is it that you really want? And that's a hard one, because we are conditioned. We are conditioned by years of people telling us what we should want. So we're not hearing that inner voice within ourselves. So just quieten yourself and just ask yourself. It's not going to come overnight, but you will find it if you keep asking that question. So that's what I would say.
Wonderful.
So Ranjini, if I may just add to what Anu said right now,
yes,
right? Because one of the things that we advocate to younger women when we have these conversations, that it's very important to have mentors in the organization where you work for, because these are the people, that's the informal network, right, that Anu alluded to, is extremely strong in any organization, and they really help you navigate across the organization, right? And sometimes, like you said, women are just so focused on being at that hours of work, and they just want to pack their bags and run and leave at the end of the day, because like she said, you want to be a superwoman, you want to make sure everything is in place. I think sometimes we probably need to step back and reduce the pace at which we operate, and do be kind to ourselves. And I think that really makes a lot of difference. I think that will get us to be a lot more better and do much better at where we are without feeling very stressed out all the time. I think that's extremely important. I just wanted to call that out, because that's real even in a corporate world, because you really keep seeing this all the time, with multiple women across the organization.
Sure. Sure. So really, Anu's saying, give yourself permission to be imperfect. And you are saying, get a mentor, and between the two, you'll balance. Maria, did you want to add to this?
No, I wanted to say, Ranjini, that is what you do, right? With Champion Women. Self-confidence. And
that's right.
That's the kind of thing that you guys are also doing. So that's a wonderful thing, that, you put so many things in place for all the women at work. And I think that's commendable, because I think as a woman, you do not come equipped with learning how to look after yourself. I think the first thing, the natural thing that you do is you always look out for the other. And I think I come with that. I never look at myself first. I kind of say, oh, are you okay? And are you okay? And nobody's asking me if I'm okay.
Yeah.
And you kind of get okay with the fact that nobody's asking you, and till it builds to a place where you're like, what happened there? I did so much and I got nothing out of it.
Yeah.
So, those things that if you did kind of start asking yourself, you would realize that, okay, you can say no, and you can say, okay, I'm not doing anymore. But I think that comes with after lots and lots of self-damage, I would say. I mean, you reach a place where you're like, okay, what happened there? I thought I did all the right things and this still didn't work.
Yeah.
Means what? Was I not sufficient? What did I do enough? So you kind of sit in a place and you keep wondering. But the fact of the matter is that while something's going on, you have to also look and say, am I actually okay with this? But I guess we live and learn.
And also we tend to toggle, isn't it? I read somewhere we tend to toggle between silence and violence. We don't speak up, right? And then we explode because we have not been speaking up and advocating for ourselves. It's been building up, and then we explode. And then when we explode, we don't like it. So then we go back to silence. So I think we need to break this.
Yeah.
Yep. It's actually a very lovely line: silence and violence and toggling. So switch off the toggle switch.
Yeah.
And that's what, you're right, Maria, in Champion Woman, that's why we started that as a movement. And all of you are role model ambassadors, because only 27% of India, of college educated girls are contributing to our workforce. Can you imagine? College educated boys, over 80% of them work in our workforce. But our women, either we lose them to a marriage, the death knell rings when the marriage happens. Why? Nobody asks a boy, how are you going to manage work and home after your marriage? But everyone asks a girl, right? So those are the things that we wanted to say in the life leadership programs that we need to talk about. But, just going from here to your topic again, Maria, we have thousands of college students right now watching you on live. And I think a lot of them will have this question because they ask it of us in our classes. They say, at what point do you know what your goal is? Because Maria, you've said previously, I didn't know that I didn't think I knew swimming or running, but I did a marathon. I was scared to go on stage, but I became a VJ in MTV. So at what point does a person know, or how could she figure it out?
So, Ranjani, for me, I kind of, I'm very big on the happiness quotient. Okay, I have always, that has been the one thing that I always had perspective on.
Happiness quotient.
The happiness quotient.
Okay.
And it's not that I always did really well at everything that I touched. But I felt, okay, if this did work, then there's something better waiting. And so I just never gave up. It's very difficult to make me stop trying. I try and I try till I've exhausted all my options with everything. I will try. So when you ask me how I became a VJ, that was purely by choice, purely by chance, actually. I never, I come from a very normal middle class family, and do something in banking or do something in medicine or teach or something which everybody else in the family was doing. And I somehow didn't fit there. But I did try. I have tried working for companies, and I have lasted there only 2 months or lasted there 1 month. And then I realized that, okay, I have to stop trying to do this because I'm not fitting in. And somehow, I guess I'm a creative person, and I got into doing other stuff. I actually started off as a fashion designer. I did a year of fashion design in Sapphires, and I started off like that. But I think I had all this charted out, and I had to just reach there. So I consider myself very, very lucky. And the thing is, once I got into this, I realized that, wow, I can do this. So, and then I would give it 200%. So but I didn't really walk here towards this direction. But I realized that once I reached there and I felt, everything inside me kind of settled. I said, okay, this is good. This is for me. So even food, when it happened to me, I didn't ever cook the way I'm cooking today. I mean, in 2010, I was just about starting to learn because I had 2 kids and I was like, okay, I can't give them, khichdi every day.
Yeah. No, Maria, that's what it is. This work very hard is the wonderful message you're giving. Choose and then work very hard.
There are no shortcuts and there are no free lunches. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Kamini, can you add to that and tell us about discipline? I think one of the things that we women are supposed to do really well is multitasking. Is that good or is that bad to have a career and happiness along with it?
So it's a difficult question, right, Ranjini? And there is no right answer to that whole piece, right? Because for me personally, I've been a very structured person. And, I have this endless list of lists, and if my daughters are listening, they'll probably be laughing about it because I'm always walking around with a diary with a list of things that I need to probably do, because that's the only way I can bring in some balance in the way I do work my life out. And I feel I'm in control when I'm endlessly going through the whole piece. So I think it's extremely important for everyone to really decide how they want to operate. I think from a women's standpoint, I think we're generally very good at multitasking because, you're just tossing too many balls up in the air all the time, right? To that extent. And probably that's the only way that keeps us going in terms of balancing out various things that we would probably do. So to your question, yeah, I would think so. That I think multitasking comes very naturally to all of us. And we need to find our own rhythm in terms of how to managing the piece. I just wanted to give a comment to what Maria said, because one thing that I liked about her in terms of what she said is courage to do something, to experiment, courage to do things something very differently. Because I think, sometimes we all go down the path that's very clearly defined as success, right? And I think it takes a lot of success and a lot of courage to be able to look at different things, knowing that it can positively probably succeed or it may fail, right? And Maria, I think great guns to you on this. There are not many people who actually do this because it's not a very easy thing to actually do.
Okay, so these are all really serious, lovely points that you've given all of us. I wanted to go into a fun last episode part of our panel, if you allow me, like a rapid fire round from the Fireside chat to the rapid fire round. Remember, the theme seems to be all about setting India ablaze in the new next normal, marching ahead with fire in every one of us. So here's the questions for you, Maria. And remember, rapid fire, you're all TV hosts. You know this better than me. 1 word, 2 words, 1 phrase, the buzzer, okay? So Maria, what did you have to advocate with Arshad Varsi?
Oh my God, you have me. I have no clue.
Okay, so oh my God is what you had to do.
No, I really have no clue about this. I'm actually in a place where I don't know what I had to advocate.
Okay, you can say pass. I'll ask the next question. I'll ask the next person. Anu, what did you have to advocate for all the other famous Hasans?
Just had to tell them that they are all other Hasans. I'm not the same. Because this comparison thing I have always lived with. And as weird as it might sound when they ask me, how does it feel to be part of such a famous family? I said, they do what they do well. I do what I do well. That's what it is.
So that's what the answer is to everybody. Do what you do well and don't care about what others do well. No. Great, great. And Kamini, in your international experience, which country was it toughest to advocate for India?
Actually, many countries, but I would say that probably you could say that some of the Southeastern countries, I think if you look at maybe something like a Bangladesh, where we had to do some work initially in our career, very difficult. Despite being similar, we're very different.
That's it. Similarity can't be complacent, as Vishwanathan told us at the beginning of it. Yep. Okay, let me ask Anu this. Anu, in front of whom would you be tongue-tied?
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh.
It was just the first name that came to my mind. I don't think that was actually true, though.
Okay, good. So, Maria, what is one word you would suggest or use for developing self-esteem?
Trust.
Trust gives self-esteem. Great. Anu, what's your word for self-esteem building?
Truth.
And Kamini?
Would be integrity, similar, but yeah.
Integrity, trust, and truth. Oh, there's a theme there. All right, great. So I have a question quickly for Maria. What is your magic word or phrase for getting what you want?
I love it.
Sorry, you're breaking up. I love
it.
I love it.
I love it.
Love
I love it. Okay.
If I love it, then I will do whatever it takes because I love it, or I love you, or I love whatever it is. It's love.
Great. Openly use the word love a lot more. We're all a little shy, we women, about using the word love. We need to use it.
I use it very brazenly.
Great, great. And Anu, what are 2 words you could give us for building a good brand me? How can I build a brand me? What are 2 words?
Well, actually, one is knowledge of the self. So it's not single word. It's knowledge of the self and continuous progress. So you need to keep improving on yourself.
Lovely, lovely. And then a quick round robin as the last one to all 3 of you. What 3 words? Shall we go with 3 words to close it? What 3 words would you say if you met your 25-year-old self? 3 words of advice to the 25-year-old self.
So it has to be one sentence with just 3 words, is it?
I mean, poetic license, yeah.
I would say believe in yourself, follow your dreams. That's all.
Great. Great.
I would say I love you. Because I think we criticize ourselves far too much and we don't give ourselves enough credit. I think we've done fabulously well to get where we are at this moment. It's okay.
So Anu Hassan's line is, I love me, correct?
Yeah.
I love me. Great. Maria?
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Oh, that's wonderful. So thank you very much. I'm going to allow the participants now to have questions. We have just a couple of minutes so we can take a couple of questions, but it's been a superb panel. Any questions, group captain?
Yes, madam. There are a couple of questions which has come, and viewers, you can put your question, and all the viewers watching live also think we got another few minutes to go. As I mentioned, we got another 10 minutes to go. No issue. We have got session till 7:30 actually, so no problem. 10 to 15 minutes we have. We can squeeze in as many questions as possible. There's a question which has come from Simran Dingra. Simran Dingra's question is, I'll just read out the question. Thank you so much. It has been amazing to hear the wonderful and visionary views and being amidst such a highly intellectual people. On one hand, I do understand that we need to empower the women and we need to ensure equality. On the other hand, we see that recent condescending of policy of period leaves for the female employees. How do we ensure and advocate that the policies are implemented in a healthy and a fair manner, not creating another obstacle as a step forward to equality? I think a good question.
Kamini, you can take this.
Yeah, so I think it's the way you look at it and the perspective that you have, right? I think the organizations today are really going out of their way because they value diversity and they really want to make women very, very comfortable and be with her through her life journey. So I think it's a way you look at it, in my view, that if you are comfortable with the fact that periods are a natural part of a woman, and this is something where you are likely to have a little more discomfort than what you are. than a normal day, I think you should not really feel bad about it, but welcome the fact that the organization is going all out to do it. So I think a lot of how we react to situations depends on our perspective on what we really need to do it. So that would be my aspect to it, because when I read this, I said, wow, there's one organization who recognizes that women have different needs and are willing to come out and actually say that I support the women through this cycle. So, you know, I think you should feel comfortable about it.
And I also thought, especially with now with the rising cases of PCOD, it's becoming harder for women. You know, see, I was the kind of person who used to be playing basketball, you know, throughout the month. Nothing happened to me, but it's not the same for the women now because there's a rising case of PCOD, and I think it's becoming harder. And I think it's great that organizations are taking cognizance of this fact.
You know, so I just, during the time of your periods, you know, a few days before that, you also have so many hormonal disbalances. And at that point of time, you know, for a woman to just kind of center herself, if she's able to get a little time off, why not? Really, I mean, what makes it not equal? It's fine. It's just a bodily function. And if you can make your life a little better for those few days, I think it's a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
So we have another question here. Someone's asking, did you ever want to give up? And what did you do to bring your energy back?
So I have a saying that I love, okay, and I would love to share it here. It's not something that I made up. It's something people have probably heard. Life is like boxing. You don't lose when you fall down. You lose when you fail to get up. So just pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. Because you'll only regret not trying, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to have to just agree with Anu here, because, you know, the thing is that when you love something, you don't really give up on it. You don't really give up. And if you have given up on it, then I promise you there's something fantastic that you're going to pick up and not give up on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes you have to also know that, okay, you have to be realistic about the fact that, okay, this is not for me. And it's okay to say, fine, let this go. You know, so it's that little clarity that you may not have immediately, but you will. So it's fine. It's not all the time that you don't have to give up. No. At times you have to say, okay, I've done enough. Next.
Yes. What's next? Yeah.
So cut yourself some slack. Sorry, Anu. Cut yourself some slack and then look at what next.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say that don't give up on the attitude. Don't give up on the joie de vivre. Don't give up on your lust for life. You can give up on what you can't do. I mean, if you've proven beyond a doubt that this is not for you, no point beating your head against it. But don't lose your zest for life. You know, don't give up. That's what I mean when I say don't give up.
Yeah.
When you're tired, rest. Don't quit. That's what we have to tell ourselves.
Yes.
Kamini, you want to chime in?
No, I was just I think they've fairly covered it, but I think what's very important is when you decide to give up, I think you really need to ask yourself a question as to, you know, why am I feeling the way I am? I think it's important to internalize a little bit. And am I doing it for the right reasons, right? Because at some point of time, you're just plain tired and you would want to give up, but, you know, or because it's not something that you want to do. So I think it's very important to understand that and make sure that whatever decision that you're taking is because it makes sense for you, right? It's important to do that. And that's where my whole aspect of mentorship comes into play, because I really use mentors to kind of, get your thoughts together and understand how to really manage that situation.
And it helps with the perspective when you've got someone else looking at it, isn't it?
Yes.
Very true.
Well, thank you. We could go on and on, but it's my honor to sum up this wonderful panel. Thank you all, and to say that...
Sorry to intervene. There's one question that's come from Ms. Parimala from Hindu Business Line.
Okay.
Can you put this question before we close, since we have a couple of more minutes? Is it okay with you, Ranjani?
Sure.
Yes. The question is from Parimala, she from Hindu Business Line. She says, there's a shared resources in their workplace. Say a management trainee who officially report to one manager, but is dumped with more work than allocated quota by the manager of other teams. This also eats into the time she needs for her main role, and she ends up working many extra hours every day. Our reporting manager makes it light of it, saying, sure, you will find a way to cope with it. Say no to extra work. Being new in the organization, she doesn't know how. Search a way out.
Okay.
How to say no.
Yeah. So maybe I'll probably pick it up and others can chime in, right? I think this typically happens when you work with multiple bosses. And at times your workload is, completely distributed. And I've gone through this once or twice earlier in my career. I tried reaching out to my manager to explain that, how long it took me to complete it and why I was not able to manage. The best thing that I realized as part of the process is to get the two managers together and have a conversation and tell them, listen, I need help. I'm really doing all of these. Show them the data of how much you're really spending time on, where are you spending time, how much of effort that it's taking, and see if they can come to an understanding of, how they should balance the workload. Another option that you can do is to work with your HR partner, because, they are really the people who can help you in terms of balancing this out and having that conversation on. So, you can do this very nicely, very practically. But make sure that you hear your voice. Your voice is loud about what you can do and what you cannot do, right? That's really what I wanted to call out.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, because what people think is, let's not rock the boat. And in an organization, not rocking the boat might be okay, but you get labeled as a follower. If you want to be a leader, then you will have to speak up. You will have to advocate for yourself, but you have to do it with grace. You have to come up with your creative ideas and show that you're also someone who respects authority. And I would just add one point, which is, instead of thinking, oh, what will happen if I advocate for myself? Turn it around. What will happen if you don't advocate for yourself? That will give you the impetus.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
Thank you, Ranjini. You can go ahead, please. That's all. That's all from our side. Please go ahead.
All right. So since we had one thing I learned in the Harvard Women's Leadership Board was this term called FOPO. And I think that's what prevents us from advocating for ourselves. FOPO, right? Fear of people's opinion. We need to drop FOPO. It's actually a term. They have it in the Harvard Business Review as articles. Look it up. What we have to care about is about my own opinion of myself. I need to look better tomorrow than I feel today, and the next day feel better than I did the previous. So if we can work on reducing FOPO and asking ourselves those hard questions, then like Kamala Harris today, who's the newsmaker, our young woman from Besant Nagar, who's made it to vice president running mate of the United States. She's on our mind, right? All viewers, I'm sure she's on our mind. We're very proud that she has a Chennai connection. And so I just thought we'd sum this whole panel up with USA. Understand, what did Maria do? What did Anu do? What did Kamini do? What did Ranjini say? And understand some of the perspectives and some of the takeaways. The S is then strategize, because one is to understand our lives, but this is not your life, right? So strategically think, well, let me see, how does this work now for what I want to do with my life? And then the A stands for ask, and act. Ask yourself some hard questions, ask for support where you need it, and then take action. Because actually, whether you're women watching this session, it's only your action that is going to allow India to march ahead. And if it is men on this in our audience, please champion women around you, because together, man and woman, that balance, that gender balance is what is going to be gender intelligence, and it's going to take our workforce way ahead into the future. Thank you very much to our wonderful panel on advocating for yourself and others. Thank you for the first session, and now we look forward to the next one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes, closing. Any closing comments from anyone of the participants? Please go ahead.
I actually just want to say thank you, because there's so much that I learned by just listening to Ranjini and Anu and Kamini. There is always something that you can learn every day from every person that you interact with, every person that you meet. And I'm just happy about that.
No, I just felt like I'd found soul sisters, because when Kamini spoke of lists, I smiled because I make lists. And when Maria said that happiness is very important, I again resonated. So I think we need to get together more often so we can see the similarities instead of the differences.
I just
We'll
want
make-
to echo the same thoughts, and thank you very much. I just enjoyed the last 1 hour that we spent together. Thank you very much. It was great.
MMA will be more than happy to host along with Ranjini Manian. So we take your offer with both the hands. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Kamini and Maria Goretti and Anu Asan, and also Ranjini Manian for leading the conversation so beautifully. I could see all the panelists so relaxed and so casual, and it clearly shows in pandemic time one need not be in really panic. You sit back and relax and share your thoughts without any amygdala interfering with your thought process. I think it will be fantastic. Thank you so much. And it's indeed a pleasure to have you with us. And as a token of our gratitude, MMA has made arrangements on your behalf, 400 face masks to be given away to the needy. Indeed, obliged for your kind gesture. Thanks so much. What we do, we coordinate with the NGOs, and we have got the slums around. We go around, hand over this to them, because this we thought is the best way to really do that in a virtual manner rather than giving a memento which is sent across. Thank you for your understanding and for your cooperation. Thanks so much to each one of you. Thank you, madam. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now we'll commence the special session 2 on the theme Managing Stress in the Next New Normal. I now request the distinguished moderator for the session, Shweta Jaishankar, and other distinguished panelists, Ms. Vani Kola and Mr. Wilfred Albert, to join in, and also switch on your video and unmute yourself. With your video, we can bring in you on. I could see, yes, all of you there on the screen. May I now request Ranjini Manian also to join for a brief demo of a meditation as a stress buster during the session. And I think it will be quite interesting. To introduce the panelists and the moderator, may I have the AV, please?
In the second session, the panel discussion on managing stress in the next normal, we have Shweta Jaishankar in conversation with Vani Kola and Wilfred Olber. Shweta Jaishankar is a former Femina Miss India International and author. She holds an MBA from the Indian School of Business and is a co-founder of Global Sport, a pan-India sports and talent management company. She has worked with the Mumbai Indians and was the editor of the official magazine of IPL called 2020. She is author of the award-winning book, Gorgeous, Eat Well, Look Great. Vani Kola is the founder and managing director of Kalari Capital, one of India's leading venture capital firms. She is a serial entrepreneur and a spokesperson for India's digital opportunity to create next-gen large-scale companies. Vani has successfully led more than 30 investments at Kalari in e-commerce, gaming, digital content, healthcare, and much more. She is listed as Fortune's most powerful women in Asia and sits on various boards. Wilfred Olber is a senior partner and global head of Roland Berger. He is joining us today all the way from Chicago. He is also the former managing director of Mercedes-Benz India. Wilfred has been a member of various industry bodies and has held senior positions in different organizations. He's also an author of Riding the Tiger, a book that provides insights on how business is done in India. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the panel, Managing Stress in the Next Normal.
Now over to Shweta Jaishankar to take it forward. Over to Shweta.
Good evening. It's a great pleasure to be here and to have listened to the panels before me. I think I commend MMA as well as Ranjini for putting this very, very important topic together and bringing very varied and amazing people. As we begin this panel today, which is about managing stress, we thought it would be a wonderful way to begin with a few minutes of mindful meditation. And Ranjini, I would like to begin with you. Could you guide us through this process so that at the end of it, we could all be more present in this moment?
Thank you, Shweta. So wherever you're seated, please let's sit in a straight back chair or on the ground, cross-legged. And we're going to just do 3 or 4 minutes of being completely present and meditate in our own way. May I please invite you all to close your eyes gently and place your hands open on your lap, palms facing upwards, open to all possibilities. We do a minute's body scan. Relax your head, relax your neck muscles, pull your shoulders away from your ears. Your back is relaxing. Your feet, your thighs, knees, your calves are completely relaxed. Feel how well you are supported by the earth under your feet. And now, let us simply become aware of any sounds nearby or far away, just aware. No judgment at all. Everything is in its right place. We bring our attention to our breathing. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Inhale positivity along with the oxygen, and exhale all anxiety. One more conscious deep inhalation and exhalation. We come back now to our regular breathing and mentally follow the words of an inspirational passage. As we say the words, if you are distracted by thoughts or sounds in the atmosphere, simply bring your focus back to the words. Meditation is nothing but training our attention. And when we think of positive things, we become what we meditate on. Here are the 2 phrases to mentally repeat over and over. Let nothing upset you. Let nothing frighten you. Let nothing upset you. Let nothing frighten you. Become aware again of your breathing, of your relaxed body. And when you hear a soft bell, it's time to simply smile, open your eyes, fill your heart with gratitude, and come back to all of us. You may gently open your eyes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ranjini. I think it's a very unusual way to begin a panel discussion with this, but it's also in this case so apt because the topic is about managing stress in the next normal and with leaving the audience with real tools
And oftentimes we discuss these things, but we fail to experience them together. And thank you for giving us that opportunity. I also welcome once again my accomplished panelists, Vani Kola and Wilfred Albert. Thank you for joining us. Vani, I'd like to begin with you to start with. Could you tell us, today you have earned a very secure place in your career, in your life. But a lot of women who are listening to this panel are still working those out. Overnight, they've had to work from home, manage childcare and education, housework, and sometimes not even knowing if their job is secure. In effect, what would you tell your younger self on how to cope in an unprecedented situation?
Shweta, in any situation, we can only cope day by day. When we create a mountain to climb, it is impossible to reach the summit. When we take it one step at a time, most mountains can be conquered. And this notion that someone is in a more secure place and I'm not is a myth. I think each of us are processing our lives at every stage of our life. And that's actually a realization of the decades, at every stage. Even a small kindergarten child has their worries and we laugh it off, right? Because we have gone past it. But at every stage, there is something that occupies you. So life is about creating those tools through which we don't make mountains that we can't climb, but we bring to it, I'm going to use this word, mindfulness, to how we tackle problems and put them in a broader perspective of our life and our possibilities.
So you had mentioned before as well that you're not one of those people who gets very stressed, even in stressful situations, and that you are able to distance yourself from the two to tackle. Have there been any situations that have caused you this stress that you've overcome? Because today you have reached a place of maturity in tackling this. Would your younger self also have had this maturity? And how would you guide someone to get there?
There are a lot of questions there, but in general, I have, through upbringing or through personality, always had this ability to not get stressed and stay calm. And I think there are some tools to it which I recognize. Maybe before I didn't recognize them as well, but today I recognize that. I think a process of getting to the root of your issue, because oftentimes we are stressed, but we don't understand fully why we are stressed, and what appears to be the surface reasons for our stress may not really be the triggers. And then, to project the outcomes, meaning what is it that could really go wrong, and what outcome am I so worried about? And if you can go through a mental process of acceptance of that outcome, it really frees you from fear. Fear of something is what causes you stress. Fear of an exam, which we have all faced. And your older self would say, why was I so worried about it? But that was your fear of that moment, And of course, all of us have faced many stressful situations. And each of us here, the 318 people that are on this session, will have something to give as an example. And my examples are probably no more, no less, no worse than anybody else's life that had very difficult and stressful situations. But I think it's a process of, creating better self-awareness. And I and Ranjini always talk about it because we both have meditation as a core anchor to our daily lives. And really what it is a process to face myself and be able to be an observer and be able to then sense it. Because, if you're in a stressful situation, often maybe your friends around you have an alternate perspective to tell you why you shouldn't be so stressed about that, and it will be all right, right? Now, why can't we tell ourselves that? So, and for that, we have to sort of be that objective observer of our own life and develop that process. So I think my younger self sometimes often we forget, but this is really how I feel I was in my younger self. I can't 100% be sure if that's sort of a situation I've created or not. But I think even my younger self, I always had this core faith that I will not be given challenges beyond my capacity to face. And this was something I think all our moms and family, maybe somebody drills into you. And I always, or grandmother or someone in your life tells you these things, right? So I always felt whatever I'm given to face, I definitely have the capability and the capacity to overcome. That's not to minimize the momentary, stress or reaction, or, I don't want to diminish that or demean that. Those exist, but it's the capacity to sort of look at that from a broader perspective and draw inspiration to be able to say this too can be overcome and work through the process a step at a time.
Thank you, Vani.
I think it's also, it's a process and it's a development that happens over time. I mean, I can remember when I was younger and less financially secure and also less secure in myself, stress and sort of anxiety was much more of an issue than it is today. So I think there is a time aspect to it. If I look back at my studies, I basically was the first to get a high school degree, a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD in my family. And you were constantly wondering, okay, listen, how is this going to work out? How is it going to pan out? Where's the money going to come from? And it takes some time to really then make the transition from being sort of under stress or being sort of anxious to understanding that there are certain things you can do. And then there's a lot that you just cannot influence. And really internalizing that and accepting that whatever you can do, and the rest you don't worry about. I think that's been quite important for me to make sure that as stress increases, I really don't get as hassled anymore as I would in the past.
That's interesting, Wilfred, because there could be another viewpoint, which is that as you age, your capacity to handle situations could diminish. Equally, as you say, experience can teach you, and it depends on which side of the line you are. Having said that, I would say my question is that this particular moment in history is a very different kind of stress. It's a shared stress across humanity, across communities, but it's also very different from anything any of us have experienced. So given that you are one of those who has learned to deal with stress better as you age, what advice could you give specifically to people facing this particular situation, which has no precedent?
Yeah, maybe I'll take it first and Vani can agree. I think her point was, listen, just don't worry about the goal or the end point of the journey, worry about every step. And I think that's extremely important. Right? Typically what happens is if we have a goal in mind and we focus on achieving that goal, we become desperate because it seems so far away, it seems unachievable, unattainable. And what we can actually do is say, okay, listen, here are the steps that I need to take, focus on getting those steps done. And that typically leads to a situation where more often than not, you achieve what you set out to do without getting desperate, without getting sort of in a bad place mentally. And as far as the current environment is concerned, I believe that we have to do a number of things to deal with the situation. One of them is really make sure that we find small victories, right? So yes, it is a bad situation for many of us in the sense that we are isolated and we're not able to connect with others. But for many also, it is an opportunity to spend some time with family. In my case, this is, quite frankly, it's a positive, it's not a negative. I normally travel 5 days a week. So now I get to spend some time at home and use that opportunity to potentially work on my health, do some exercise, learn some new skills. And I think those are the small victories that you have to create to feel good about yourself and not despair in these difficult times.
Right, thank you. Vani, I would like to ask you this, because this, while I feel this topic is relevant to all human beings, it so happens that this today we are addressing women and issues that particularly women might face. And you can come at this again in two different ways. As a board member, as an investor in several companies, has this issue been addressed in the companies in which you are a part of? Are there any policy changes that are being discussed about how to integrate women better in this situation, in the work from home situation, in the fact that they are probably carrying more than their fair share of load at home?
Like you said, we are facing unprecedented times, and not always the leadership of that in terms of answers will come from outside, as in a large corporate or whatever necessarily. Okay. Yes, it's work from home, but work from home is probably more challenging to women. And there are all kinds of comical situations I've heard. I mean comical just because you need to look at them from a comical perspective, from, I don't have a quiet room because the one quiet room is taken by my husband, or whatever it is, right? So I do think that, and I have to put 3 meals on the table to, I think for women, and also because women are the anchors, their personal space is probably completely wiped out right now in this situation. On the other hand, I think corporates are also facing unprecedented times. If you remove the large tech companies that are cash rich, those are the exceptions, right? But largely, if you see, either a pay cut or a layoff is the norm, not the exception, right? So that causes also a lot of financial stress at home. So I think the stress comes from 3 or 4 broad areas. Since we have to look at solutions, we may not have as much power over the causes of the stress, but we may have some power over the solutions we create for ourselves. One is, there is so much more expected from women today, that it's important to tell yourself, I can only do what I can do. And that best should be enough for me, and it should be enough for everyone around me. That could be your family, many times, who have expectations of you that you just simply can't fulfill 100%. It could be your workplace. But I think it's important, first and foremost, that we invest into the self and a sense of self-being and well-being, and give yourself permission to do only what you can do, right? And that's something very hard for most women. It's easy to say, but I think it's very, very hard for most women. The other thing is, we give up the me time very, very easily. And over the years, if there is something I have learned and insisted upon, is that I give myself my me time to whatever the routines are. The routine could be whatever, morning walk, your yoga, your meditation, whatever that is, your book that you read. But it's important, especially, to have those me times and routines and disciplines, and not to give that up because it feels like there is so much that needs to be done. And there may be, and these are all sort of the soft things, but there may be some hard decisions to make also, which is to say, this is how much I can work, or this is the budget within which, we will need to get through this period. And so there are probably also some hard decisions to make. And in fact, like I think earlier in the previous session or something, Ranjini was saying, women are actually make this emotional decision more easily, more objectively many times on the family's behalf. And I think it's important probably for almost all of us to make many decisions like that. And unlike Wilfred, my 2 daughters are in US, and we haven't been able to visit them or see them, contrary to what we had hoped the summer would be. But, but what has happened is, trying to create a family call, we have created new rituals and routine where there is more quality of conversation, whereas before, maybe everybody is there together physically, but mentally really not there for each other, And I think what the distance, so everything has a silver lining. That's my point, right? So the silver lining in our case, because we have been separated, is to be able to, create actually family rituals which we didn't have before, and ask each other how are you doing, and be able to support and create actually very, very high quality conversations and sharing versus just physically being present with each other. So there's a silver lining to every situation, and we have to sort of create that for ourselves.
I think that's
sorry if I
go
can
ahead.
just interject. I think that these are extremely important points, and it's important to focus on what you can do. I think from an employer perspective also, it is important to understand the challenges that people are under, and employers need to encourage a behavior that sets certain boundaries. Otherwise, what you see is that people are working 24/7. The fear of losing your job currently is very, very bad. The fact that you have very little control over your calendar and everybody puts meetings into your calendar is a challenge. And people that have difficulties in terms of when do I take a shower, when do I get to eat. I think here employers have to actively encourage people, keep some balance, avoid being burned out, because at the end of the day, this pandemic is going to be over. It may take longer than we thought it would. But I think also from an employer side, you want to make sure that you appreciate the people that you work with and give them the opportunity to come through this situation as unscathed or less impacted as possible.
I think, what both of you have said has a very strong common point, which is that this situation could actually bring about a lot of quality shifts and even leadership roles for women, say at home, if they are taking charge of, say, budgeting in a situation, and they are actually taking a leadership role in a very different way, and that could teach them something, teach their family members something. The kind of dialogues that you are having with your own family, or what you're encouraging employees to have with employees and vice versa, again, is something that could be read as positive out of this. Wilfred, you had mentioned that your organization is looking at certain permanent ways of changes in working, more collaborative spaces, probably, work from home being a longer term idea. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how that would affect your organization?
No, I think what we've learned, and again, that depends on everybody's situation. It depends on what is your situation at home, how much space do you have? Do you have a sort of a quiet room to work from or not? But I think generally speaking, I think what we've seen is there is a significant opportunity in increasing work from home. We never thought that was possible. We always thought we are a team sport. Everybody has to be in the office or on the client side. And we just find that both from a client perspective and our own perspective, we're really not losing too much by allowing a certain amount of work from home, which obviously improves lives of employees, because at the end of the day, there's no commute. And if I look at Mumbai, if you live, say, in Khar and you have a job in South Mumbai, it's a very difficult commute. So if I can take some of that out, I give time back to people that they can use for either private activities, or maybe they want to invest in education, what have you. So we believe that that's a trend that we will see. We are thinking of not going back to the kind of offices that we had, but really focus on the collaborative work, the brainstorming that will happen in office, and then for many people the execution piece will be at home. And we even believe that this kind of tendency, this kind of development will have an impact on the kind of real estate market that we see and the development of the real estate market going forward. So that's, in my opinion, positive.
Great, which means that the stress of commuting will probably be replaced with something else. And a lot of the times, commuting has become such an important part of who we are. We don't realize how it affects us mentally and physically. So I think that's a really good step that organizations are taking, another positive outcome, perhaps, from this situation.
Exactly. It won't be a black and white solution. It's not that we are cutting down every social content or contact. I think people do want to go into offices once in a while, interact with people, have that connect. Some people may have to come to the office because at the end of the day, their physical infrastructure at home is not conducive, right? So that's fine as well. But overall, I think there are opportunities. We can change the paradigm of work. I think the tools are available. We just didn't take the plunge in the past. And now with Corona, we had to.
Right. I would like both of you to sort of answer this. What should we be teaching our children about this experience?
Vani, you want to go first?
I think it depends on the age of the children also. Mine are young adults. And, I teach them to not allow fear, and fear and doubt can be poison to affect their life so much. There is a caution, but caution has to be balanced also. And the second thing is to, value small things, value and have gratitude. So I think, we share once a week what we wrote in our sort of gratitude journal, so to speak, right? And it's important every day we have something to be grateful, and being mindful of that actually, creates a better self. Also, I think to check in on others. This has made all of us more sensitive to check in on others, which perhaps before we took it for granted. And it creates more beauty to our relationships, to be able to do that. And I hope those habits become more permanent, because those are really the anchors for what is meaningful about life, And then lastly, to really understand what matters. And when you have those perspectives, the here and now and the challenges of the moment or the day, diminishes in its importance and gravitas, because there is a broader perspective to life that you have. And I think each of us have privileges that we are given. If we can acknowledge them and be grateful for that, some of the challenges we have to face will feel less daunting.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that personal, experience of a gratitude journal. I think that's a very good, takeaway, a very simple suggestion that all of us could probably inculcate, and sharing that with your parents or somebody loved, I think makes it even bigger. So thank you for sharing that. Wilfred.
Yeah, I think from my side, definitely it's about priorities, what is important in life, and how do I make sure that those aspects of life get taken care of. I think the second thing is sometimes bad things happen to good people. We are in a very difficult situation. People are getting pay cuts, they're losing their jobs. And I think it's important in those kind of situations to understand that that's driven by the environment. It is not a reflection of your potential or your capability. It does, I think it also is a need for resilience, because this is going to take a few months before this sort of comes back to a more normal situation. And last but not least, I think we should also take this as a learning generally, because this is not going to be the last crisis that we go through. I think climate change is definitely going to have a major impact on us as societies and on our economies. And I feel that that impact is going to be larger than what we're seeing today. So it's probably a good sort of warning shot to reevaluate how do we set up our lives. As Vani said, what do we value? And how do we ensure that we build in a certain resilience? Right, so I wouldn't advise to spend all the money that I make today. I would keep some of that back and build a nest egg, because I may need it down the line.
Shweta, while I and Wilfred have been sharing our perspective, really, this is, I could learn from everyone in this, webinar, and from each of the participants. And I know you have children, and probably at a different age bracket, and Ranjani has some grandchildren, right? And I'm ready, but my children are not ready for for that. But I'd love to hear from both of you. What are you taking away from this situation? How are you coping, and what are you telling your loved ones?
Ranjani, do you want to go for it first?
You go, please. You go first,
Okay.
Shweta.
Well, my children are small, and definitely this has been something that I cannot explain to them or discuss with them. But at the same time, there is a protective feeling that we must keep it real, but not keep it ugly, so that they imbibe certain values from what we're all learning, what we're all talking about, the importance of grandparents, the importance of gratitude. And so even though my kids are under the age of 6, I've been able to start them off on a very simple meditation routine, which we do together as a family. And perhaps I would have postponed this idea of introducing meditation to them if we didn't go through this, what we've gone through in 2020, and that we've all spent so much time, under one roof. And sometimes I play them images of beautiful landscapes from around the world. Many of those names, I don't know where they are, but children intuitively gravitate towards natural beauty. And I can see them relax when we watch them. So this is a simple habit that we do regularly. And it's very difficult to describe, but it's a very, for those few minutes, it's a feeling of calm. It's as if it's us and in a little pod, and none of this is happening actually. And it prepares us for the day. So that's one way that, I have been able to tackle the stress. Of course, there's been stress, there's been uncertainty. I wouldn't say that I've had like perfect days, but this is one of the tools that I've used and I've found a lot of benefit from.
And as for me, Vani, you better get those grandchildren quickly because, you can love them and not be responsible for them.
I know.
And that only happens with the next gen. So, but I just want to say that my 1.5-year-old granddaughter has her own little baby mask. So the toys that people are playing with, they want their own sanitizer and their own little mask. So I don't know, it's a new world. The next normal is going to be an interesting world. And my adult children, I've been telling them recently what I've been doing in the Champion Woman programs, which is, just be is the final takeaway from the programs we've been giving women in mindfulness. Because if we were meant to be do, we would have been called human doings, right? But they're calling us human beings because they want us to just be. So just be, just be happy, be peaceful, be calm. You have a right to that. And so we sort of use it as an acronym in class. We say B stands for begin the day with meditation, and E is end the day with a gratitude journal, exactly like you and I have always discussed. But yeah, it's easier for me than for both of you, I think.
That's really awesome. Thanks, Shweta and Ranjini, for allowing us to go off script, but I loved it from both of you.
That's always exciting to share. I mean, that is the idea of this. But, I also wanted to touch upon another aspect because we want to learn from how different people deal with this situation. I, for one, went through a phase where I've totally shut off the news. And then I realized there were very important things also happening, which I had no clue about. So that embargo had to go. But then, there are people who feel, let's face the worst when it happens, because by preparing for it, we are signaling to the universe that it may happen. And then there are those who have to prepare, face the worst, have a plan, set it aside, and then move back to life. Which one of the two would you say you are? Have you experienced either kind of being? What would your advice be?
I don't want to invite tomorrow's problems today and let today be ruined for something we don't know that's going to happen tomorrow. So when something happens, I'm the type that will face it then. And, I don't want to have to unnecessarily defocus from what I have to do today. So while you said you shut off news, for the last 4 months, I gave up my Prime and Netflix because the one thing I didn't want to use this time was to binge watch anything. So, so that was, probably done me a lot of good. So, I think we all have to, and I feel a big win, by the way, that I did that, right? I'm like, and I tell this to everybody, oh, I gave up. And, and so I think I live my life very, very normally. Obviously, you're not going out, you're not doing all of the things, but I mean normally from a sense of feeling normal. That's what I mean, not, and yeah, I mean, whatever tomorrow brings, it brings, we'll face it.
Okay. So Wilfred, would you like to tell us how you face things? Are you, very structured? You put down plan A, B, C, and then tuck it away in a wardrobe and go about life?
I think the planning part is more my wife. I just wing it, right?
Okay.
So I'm basically, no, I think what happens is obviously you need to do the necessary. You need to make sure that you socially distance, wear your mask, have your sanitizer and all that ready, and try to prevent to get sick, because we just don't know what it'll do to your body. So I think that's just part of life and the new normal that we currently are exposed to. And part of that probably will remain with us because the virus is not going to go away. But that doesn't mean that I have to worry about, oh my God, am I going to get it? And what will happen to me? What are the long-term effects? From that perspective, I live a normal life. And just like you gave up Netflix, I gave up any kind of alcohol, right? I sort of try to lose. I mean, you can use this as an opportunity and just try to do little things that you can celebrate as your own personal victory. So in that sense, it's also an opportunity to really grow rather than just suffer through a situation that you can't change.
So I'm hearing this common thread with all of you, which is to create challenges for yourself within the situation, within the confinement. Ranjani, you pulled off this great conference sitting in that wonderful chair. And
that's what I'm saying, that this little win, little victory, are you kidding me? We have Will, Vani, Shweta in one panel. Vishwanathan inaugurated a whole other panel with amazing people. No way, none of you would have. You all love me maybe, but you wouldn't have come to any conference I invited you. But Corona allowed it because it's all COVID and it's virtual. So really big win in victory. Thank you.
Yeah, that's I want to just go back to something that Wilfred spoke about earlier, which is that this was a time to also gain skills. And, I think even the previous panelists, even Vishwanathan spoke about it, that this was the time to, get curious, to learn. But I want to talk about it in the context of women at work, right? Obviously, we know that this shift is not temporary. It could be permanent, it could be long-term, no one knows. But yet there could be certain skills that women can learn at this point, which may be useful in the next normal. Could both of you tell us a little bit about what those skills could be, so that when these women are learning those skills, they choose the right skills to equip themselves with?
I think it's a very complex topic. There are hard skills and soft skills. It's easier to comment on the soft skills than the hard skills, because the hard skills depend on industry and also what is your goal. I had a different session where there was a very interesting perspective of, could COVID and work from home allow more women to truly find that balance and be actually involved in the workforce? Because I remember some statistics that was getting discussed in the last panel about how many women, step out of the workforce. But if you can set, I'm going to work 20 hours or I'm going to work these timing or whatever it is, could this provide, and because employers are more open now, truly the time that suits the woman to be able to work? And that is something that we can positively hope for and plan for, right? So I'm hoping this creates more opportunity for women. Now, hard skills, you have to look at your aspirations and say, if I have I can only talk for how I do it. I mean, I think about what is it in the next 5-10 years, potentially, directionally, I want to be doing, and what can I be doing today to build on that? For example, I've been using this time to write a lot more, because I've always wanted to write, and I didn't do as much of it before, for whatever the excuses may be, but they sort of said, I will write. You can call it a skill, you can call it whatever, but I think it's important to think about where you want to be And it doesn't necessarily have to be career. I don't know if writing more will help me in my career or not, but nonetheless, I think they are skills, and all skills, when you master, helps you in many, many intrinsic ways, right? And there are soft skills, and the soft skills, the most important today will be to know when to say no. Okay. And I think, like we already talked in the beginning, women have a harder time of that.
Yeah.
And being comfortable to say no, I can't do that 11 p.m. call, or that project is just an overload, or no, there can't be 3 fresh meals made every day by me, or whatever that is. I think it's important to learn to know, to say no to something, because we often know what to say yes to, but we don't know what to say no to.
They haven't met my 5-year-old. They should.
Yeah, but somewhere along the way they lose it. That's the problem, right?
So yeah, so perhaps writing, I think, is a great idea, and also negotiation skills. Maybe better negotiation skills is something that all of us could benefit from in the next normal, or even in the current normal. Yes, Wilfred. Please.
Yeah, sorry, I was interrupted in between. We've had some challenges with electricity and connectivity and all that.
Are you sure you're in America, not in India?
Exactly. No, I think your point about negotiation skills is extremely valid, right? Because if it is about achieving something at work, can I then find ways to bring my point across more effectively? That's definitely one thing. I think another thing is sort of a presentation question. How can I sell myself better in presentations in a virtual environment? How do I ensure that I come across correctly? I think those are some of the soft skills that would address some of the areas where women potentially have or are de facto challenged, right? Like we discussed in this panel as well as in the previous panel. So that's important. And then beyond that, it's are there any hard skills that I would like to learn to move maybe into a different career or do the next step in my career? What is that and how can I make it happen? And then beyond that, as Vani mentioned, what is it that excites me, right? Is there something else that I want to do that is just fun and then becomes part of my me time?
Right. I think what I'm hearing is that it's really important in this time and any other time for women to take time off to understand who they are and what they want. I think that's a very important beginning step from which emerges the choices that they make, whether it's in improving skill sets or the way they are able to draw boundaries better.
And also, I think what is important, and we talked about that before, how do I build up a certain amount of resilience?
Yes.
Right? So how do I build up this I don't give a, right? Meaning I don't care constantly about what other people think about me, but I'm sort of more centered in myself, and I'm okay with not pleasing everybody all the time.
Right.
I think that's generally quite important because anyway, in this environment, there's no way that you're going to please everybody all the time. You have to clearly define when you're going to please who in order to be able to get through it.
Right. I think that fits in very nicely with Ranjani's abbreviated FOPO. I think that's the fear of people's opinion. We need to separate ourselves from that. So I'm not sure. I think we've sort of nearing the end, if I'm not mistaken. And I think we've discussed some very, very important, crucial points. And maybe we can lighten it up a little bit now, just towards the end. With a quick rapid fire. It is a tough topic, but you've left us with a lot of food for thought and action, be it meditation, be it building resilience, be it, upping one's skill set. But maybe we should know a little bit about the fun side of stuff. So Wilfred, will you tell us, what is the one thing that you couldn't do or you didn't have time to do or before that you ended up tackling during COVID-19 pandemic?
My wife was kind enough to teach me Indian cooking. So I'm now, I wouldn't say an accomplished Indian vegetarian cook, but I'm able to nourish myself, let's put it this way. And it's fun.
What about nourishing the panelists on this when we finally visit you in Chicago?
You're ready.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, you're more than welcome, but I warn you, I'm not Tara Dalal.
Tarla Dalal. You know why he knows so much about Tarla Dalal and Indian cooking? Because Wilfred is married to a most beautiful Indian woman. That's why.
That's true.
That's good to know. What about you, Vani? Something that you've managed to tackle during this time that you didn't have time for, you couldn't do? You already mentioned you were not able to see your daughters in the US.
Headstand.
Headstand.
Yeah, I'm able to do my headstand. Tried it,
wow,
but didn't try it for years. And now, you know, and it feels fantastic. So it's the small victories that Wilfred talked about, and daily practice. And when I could do it, it's like, hey, you know, I mean, it's a small thing or a big thing, depending on how important it is to you. And also, I think I've always loved and enjoyed cooking. And making elaborate meals and sort of taking pride in showing off. But now I think really simplifying our life. We have simplified our life so much that we make one-pot meals, and learning how you can nourish yourself with so little. And I'm not talking about from quantity or whatever, from time. And the first lockdown, the 2 weeks when you couldn't get your staff, I gave myself like 20 minutes to make a nourishing, nutritious meal that you're going to enjoy, right? So that is a one-pot meal. And then, you know, it's fantastic. And I go back to my childhood where, you know, if Amma didn't have time, she would give Tair Sadam for lunch with a pickle. And, you know, I enjoyed it. And we have gone past that to needing 4 things on the table, or, you know, this and that. And, you know, so we have simplified our life so much that, you know, I'm so glad we experienced that, because we all need less than what we think we need.
Absolutely. I think a lot of women could appreciate what you've said, because I know I've had friends who've struggled with, you know, having to cook 3 hot Indian meals for the family, and also then, you know, going to a quiet corner and working from home. And then you realize how messy and complicated Indian food can be if you're used to that many options. So maybe your next stop would be headstand, watching your Amazon Prime or Netflix back on, because you seem to be really upping the challenge and conquering everything that you've set aside to do during the COVID, you know, time. All right. Actually, the next question is also a fun one. What is the reason that you've had to laugh out loud in what is otherwise, obviously, a pretty dreary situation? Can you think of one really big thing that made you laugh out loud?
You know, like I said, I don't have grandkids, but my sister does, and they are like my own grandkids. And I think little children bring such innocence. And so I asked this little one, when are you coming to visit me? And she's like 2.5, I think. And she said, oh, after COVID. And I was thinking of that when you talked about your children, right? So who are young, under 5, you said. And, you know, I just thought that was hilarious. And then, you know, they're also digitally savvy. She calls us if we are on a Zoom, endlessly changing the Zoom background. It's like, how do you figure out all this, right? And my husband was actually asking the 2.5-year-old, how did you get that background? So, you know, it's just the juxtapositioning of generations, right? And so I find what the innocence that the little children bring, you know, to this situation, because they don't have awareness of it, has a lot to teach us, but also brings a you know, big smile. And I'd offer that.
Yeah, I think it's a great story, because I think what children do in their innocence is to bring out our innocent side, our side to appreciate these small moments. And I think that's been a great, you know, amazing, I think, a shared experience of a lot of people, because life has slowed down, and really life is about these tiny moments after all.
And I think you have a chance now to not drag the child into your life, but to go at their slower pace. Now we are finding that time, and that's nice. And just listening to them, you know, just listening with eyes, ears, mind, and heart. We become mindful when we do that with the children. You just watch them, or even with other adults in the living together and working together situation.
I think there's a lot of questions that come on our viewers from various social media.
Okay.
Can you all of it's addressed to all the 3 of you? Can you take 2 last questions, and before we end the session, is it okay with you, all the 3 of you? Good. Sure. The first question is, Equally important, how can women negotiate allocation of duties within the family to ensure an equitable distribution of work, so she doesn't end up work from home and work at home from early morning till late night? What's your advice to this people?
I think you have to be willing to let go, because I feel that if you don't do it, somebody will eventually get the hint and they will do it. The problem is that you feel like, oh, I have to pick it up, I have to do it, they have to do it my way. I think you just have to let it go and let somebody else pick it up. If there's absolutely no food on the table, somebody else will cook it, So I think this is not a fight. It's a subtle sort of signaling, but don't do the work you don't want to do. Let somebody else also do it. How long can the laundry pile up? If they need it, they'll go wash it.
Right. Well, I would say that clearly I still have to work, put progress over perfection. Maybe oftentimes I can't take the sight of the laundry piled up. And everybody has a subtle cue that, they know that I won't let it sit there. But what has worked for me instead is having dialogues. And while it doesn't snap things back in place, I think you have a consistent amount of dialogue over time, and then people start to take on more tasks. And so soon you reach a balance that's different and healthier for all of us. So that's what's worked for me.
Wilfred, would like to add on? Yeah, I think it's up to both, right? I mean, people need to realize that they have to contribute. Otherwise, it's not gonna happen. It's a difficult situation for everybody, especially with both working. That's not tenable if nobody supports. I think that's one thing. The second thing is, again, we talked about perfection. Maybe now, without being, sloppy or whatever, it's also a good time to give yourself a little bit more leeway as far as some of the facts of life are concerned, whether it's what kind of food you make, or whether you make the bed every day in the morning or whatever it is. Maybe you have to compromise a little bit to get through the day in one piece, but it is a joint responsibility of both partners at this point in time. I don't think there's any doubt about this.
Again, one last question addressed to all of you, that is all the three panelists, including Ranjini Manian, is people counter stress in so many different ways. Meditation, yoga, breathing exercise, prayer, exercising, cooking, art, craft, etc. Could the panelists, Shweta, Vani, and Ranjini, and also Mr. Wilfred, share with us what is their own personal favorite way of de-stressing during this pandemic?
We actually already know the answer with both Vani and Ranjini, I think.
Yeah,
but
I think your personal habits, are really important for me. That's reading, gardening, calling friends to check on how they are, truly listening and caring. And of course, I already said meditation, but I've been doing that for 20 years. And I understand the value of that during meditation and during this period. So meditation, yoga, I always had. But I think it's really, even if you cultivate one habit that gives you that win, that's great. Whatever that is for you, I think you should just pick something and work on it.
Yeah, I think, when you're doing something that you enjoy, your body relaxes, your mind relaxes. And it doesn't have to be the same one thing each time. So, one day it could be a book, another day it's, a small amount of exercise, even 20, 30 minutes. I've stopped pushing myself to extremes. This is about a time where you get a little bit of things done. And just as Wilfred said, you get through the day, feel good about yourself. So it's about small steps and mixing it up.
Exactly. I think from my side, exercise is important because otherwise you just sit in front of the computer the whole day. So getting some of that in during the day is good. If you want to sleep at night, that's one thing. And the other thing is try to remain mentally involved by either taking webinars or participating in webinars, preparing classes for university students. That kind of work sort of gives you a different perspective than just sitting in front of the computer and trying to get through your emails.
And you would like to add before we end the session, please?
And for me, Shweta expects me to say this, so I will say it. number one priority in life has to be meditation, because then your body and mind ask for it. They say it drags you to that same spot, that same chair, and you actually find the result, not during the time that you're bringing your mind back, but when the rest of the day, the frequency, intensity, and recovery period of negative thinking, which is happening so much nowadays, I find that gets better. So that's my best stress buster. But my second one is, I finally converted my husband after 25 years to meditate with me. So it's a fabulous stress buster to do it together.
Great. But Wilfred didn't speak about dancing.
Oh, please tell him to. He's such a great dancer. Tell them how you
I don't get too many. I mean, this is the time of social distancing. So any kind of dancing is currently off the table. Like we can do that in Mumbai when I'm in town next, or in Chennai.
But tell us, what kind of dancing?
No, I mean, Bollywood, what else?
Okay.
Well done. Well done.
So when Wilfred dances, he sets the stage on fire. Move over Shah Rukh Khan. That's how good he is, Vani.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, this is not going to happen, but that's perfectly fine, Ranjani. I'll get back to you at another time.
That's amazing. I think, I've learned so much on this panel. Thank you so much for, inviting me to be a part of it. I think there were some very strong common threads about small victories, not chasing perfection, doing fun things, setting yourself with challenges. I think, I hope women and men who have listened in have some tools and takeaways from, this experience. So thank you so much.
Thank you for a great job, Shweta and Ranjani. Thanks for pulling this together. But you do know that when you say jump, we all do. So even if it was non-COVID and you said, I want you guys to do this, you know that we would do that for you.
Thank you, Vani.
Right. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Vani and Wilfred. Thank you, Dr. Ranjani Manian. You set the tone. Your insights have been thought-provoking. I know it must have kindled the thought process of so many youngsters who are watching this program. Thank you so much for your inspiring and sharing your thoughts. And thanks, Shweta, for leading the conversation so beautifully. You bring the best out of all the panelists. Thank you so much. And as a token of our gratitude, MMA has made special arrangements on your behalf to present 300 face masks to be given away to the needy. Indeed, obliged for your kind gesture. This will be given to an NGO, and we're also sharing it with a large number of people who really need this. And it's become very popular. We keep sharing them every time we do a talk. Thank you so much, and really appreciate you being there. Thanks so much once again for joining. And let me formally close the thing with a formal vote of thanks. Let me first thank our chief guest for this evening, Mr. Vishwanathan Anand, and our distinguished speakers who have joined us from different part of the thing, including Mr. Wilfred joined us from Chicago. Distinguished speakers, Kamini Shah, Maria Goretti, Anu Asen, Vani Kola, and Wilfred, as I mentioned, is from Chicago. Distinguished moderator, Shweta Jaishankar and Ranjani Manian, you have always been so great and so perfect, and it's a pleasure working with you and putting together a great evening today, attended and watched by more than 4,000 people. That's a good number. And still about more than 250 plus people are listening, though we have crossed the time by more than 15 minutes. That clearly shows the inspiration, what you are sharing. Now the people really want to listen to you till the end of the thing. Then our partners for the event, Condoner Stifting and Global Adjustment Foundation, and Mr. Shubha Kumar for delivering the welcome address, President MMA and members of the managing committee, and Charanya Modi. She has been a great source of help to us in putting together some of the content and some of the questions. Viewers watching live this program on MMA webcast, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and audio live on Voice of MMA. Thanks so much. You are the inspiration for us to bring you some outstanding programs. Team MMA, in particular, Mr. Tayub for designing the excellent audio-visual presentation which you have shared with you this evening, and Mr. Shankar for the technical backup and Zoom social media portals. Thanks so much. It has been possible because of teamwork from so many people. Thanks each one of you, and also Lakshmi Subramaniam from Global Adjustment, who have been coordinating with us very effectively to bring the best out of and bring out. There's no confusion, so many things what we did. Thanks so much, and stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye till we meet again. Good night. Ranjini, you would like to add anything?
Group Captain Vijay Kumar, we all applaud you. You're the reason that it went so smoothly. So this is a vote of thanks for the vote of thanks and for the person who made it all happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And good night. Till we meet again. Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.